Hello, this is Dragon Tank 1400, and this is All Grown Up, Season 1, Episode 8 review. The name of the episode is River Rats. And let me just say, first and foremost, this was an amazing episode. Though the episode didn't have any side plots and was just focused on 5 characters, they really did justice to all 5 characters. And I'm actually glad they didn't have a side plot, because to tell this story, they kind of needed that time, and I'm really glad they actually spent the time just focused on these 5 characters. The 5 characters they focused on was Tommy's the main one, then Chucky, Phil, Betty, and Chaz, and they go river rafting. That's why the episode is named River Rats. So basically, Tommy is afraid of going underwater, so he was just scared this entire trip. Because when he was little, with a fishing trip with his grandpa, he was like underwater, and he was just terrified of it. So it was one of those like childhood fears, and he feels like he has to be the one to not be afraid of anything, and to kind of make it so Chucky, his best friend, isn't afraid, because he was always the one, like in Rugrats and All Grown Up, not to be afraid of anything, and we'll see that like in a later episode. Anyway, so it gets out for Tommy finally confesses to Chucky that he was afraid of going underwater. Chucky's like, "I'm your best friend, well, why couldn't you tell me this?" and everything. So we kind of focus on that like fear factor. At the end, Phil's in trouble. Phil's in really big trouble, and it's Tommy's the only one who can actually do anything about it. And so Tommy, you can tell he's scared, but then he's like, "I gotta do this," kind of thing. And that's where like real courage comes in, is that when you're afraid but you still do it because you have to. Not doing something stupid. Like, there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, but it was obvious that he was doing it to save Phil from drowning. So Tommy goes in there, he saves Phil, and it's just it was just a really good moment. You can see in like Tommy's expression of how he like draw that he goes from like fear to like, okay, I got to do this kind of thing, and that's kind of how it would play out like in real life. You're in when someone else is in trouble, your instant reaction is that you're going to be scared to like help them, but then it's like character development, good character when you're like, okay, I got to do this, and you get all determined even though you're scared. You're like, I'm still going to do this. So I really liked that expression. That was the expression that they drew in the animation I just think the transition was really good. It was really on point. A lot of good facial expressions with Tommy in this episode. You can see him scared and everything, and times he's pretending not to be scared. Sometimes he gets angry and stuff. So the animation of the characters at least was just really good, really well done. Again, this episode just took me for a ride. I just sat back and just kind of enjoyed watching the episode again. It's one of those episodes that I just like could watch over and over again. And yeah, it was just a great episode all around. Now, the comedy in the episode was just some of the jokes some of the jokes were really good, some of the jokes weren't. The best jokes was like the whole like physical comedy routine with Howard towards the beginning of the episode. A bunch of stuff happens and he falls. That was funny. And then with Chaz being zipped up with his tent, and Chucky being zipped up with his tent, and having like Chaz with having the tent with trying to help Chucky. I thought that was like really funny. And you got Phil just being Phil, of course. He's got his one-liners. Phil's different than like probably the two, like I said before, the two funniest characters in the show are Phil and Dill. Dill's funny just because he's like just strange and just out there. Phil's funny because he's just like, he's up front. Like he doesn't he has no what's the word I'm looking for? He's just he says how it is. Like it just he's just funny that way. So and I really like to. We didn't get to see like much of Phil's character develop here. We got to really focus on Tommy's character, but I like I said, I thought it was really good to see to see that like full episode development of a character, and it was just like a deep, a very deep thing, like conquering your fears. And as for like the Christian morals of the story, like it's kind of like I said earlier. You're faced with a fear, however it's really courage when you're afraid but you still do it. You conquer your fear. So I really think that was a good Christian message. As Christians, we're going to be afraid to speak the word of God a lot of times, at least at first. I mean, sometimes eventually you get used to it. However, even then, you might have circumstances where you're just afraid to speak the word of God, but it's really bravery when you actually do what you're afraid of. So I thought it was a really good message overall. And as for some of the other characters, Chucky and Phil were kind of sport characters. I really like to see Chaz was just hilarious. We got to see more of Betty's character, which she's probably one of the most out of the grown-ups. She's probably the best developed character. I mean, she's strong. She's like what's the word I'm looking for? She's kind of like a muscle woman kind of thing, and we've seen that in previous episodes and stuff. She's a very unique character because most women, even in the show, like there's no other woman that's like that. So it's very an odd character in the terms of that it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it does, and it's really good to see like that type of character. So I just thought that was funny too. Like Benny and Chaz are both funny characters. He's got Chaz. He's just like. I don't know. I just thought all that was funny. But beyond that, this is gonna be a shorter review. But I'm gonna give the episode a 10 out of 10. I thought there's really nothing wrong with it except for maybe the only thing I could think of is Lil not being in the episode and having both Betty and Howard leave. And because that was the original plan for them to leave, and were they going to leave Lil home alone or something for the night? I don't know. It just that was the only problem with it. But anyway, it was 10 out of 10, solid episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. See you in the next one. Bye.